in his usual Wednesday spot from Fox Sports and The Athletic. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
So you're not going to Boulder this week, right?
No.
No game?
No, they're not even there. They're going to be in Eugene, Oregon. So
now that would be the ultimate Dion effect, is that shows and people go there when they're not even playing.
Paying homage, just to kiss the ground.
Where are you going this week?
We are going to Cincinnati. We are going, the Bearcats are playing Oklahoma. Oklahoma's very good this year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what kind of crowd we get.
I think it'll be supportive of Urban.
Yeah, I think it will be.
In Cincinnati, you know?
I would imagine that there will be, because Urban played there. There's a famous picture of Urban with the 80s mustache back after his minor league baseball career.
Okay.
Didn't get off the ground.
I did not know that. Very good. So you just came back from Boulder, though, right? I mean, you were just there. What was that day and night like, Bruce Feldman?
Yeah, again, this was not our game, the big noon game. So it wasn't like there was a game right after. There was no game right after.
Right.
They played, late that night.
Yes, they did.
Both our show and College Game Day were there. Now, we were not like in the same location, so you're not seeing the other crowd. But it was interesting because we had Gronk come in. Gronk obviously works at Fox now, and he came in to have a pre-show party. And it was funny. He flew in the middle of the night from Florida, and he rolls in like 10 minutes before we were promoting the heck out of this. Mm-hmm. Him and Lil Wayne are going to be, it's their party. Mm-hmm. And Gronk's like, I've never started partying at 7 a.m. I've been partying at 7 a.m., but I never started at 7 a.m. And that distinction with the difference, he was awesome. The crowd was amazing. Lil Wayne was phenomenal. It was a great atmosphere. Dion did both shows. And I remember when he came over, he was Dion. Dion's fantastic on camera. And it was funny because, we don't get to see College Game Day. Mm-hmm. It's on the opposite, we're working or whatever. And I remember, so I have a hit in our show that was in the second hour. Mm-hmm. And, you're in the middle of the crowd and you feel good. And then somebody said to me, he goes, Dion, I think, was with The Rock at the same time you were on. And I was like, I was about to say, how was he? But I was like, Dion's always good on camera. He's great on camera. So
right.
Whatever.
Of course. And so it was just a festival, right? It was a festival, and then a brawl kind of broke out that night, Yeah.
So the game, normally Colorado State, and it's not like Colorado State is great this year or anything like that. So they get in, and Jay Norvell, who's normally a pretty low-key guy, he had some comments, obviously, about the hat and sunglasses, and unlike the previous weeks where Colorado players had brought up something Matt Rule had said in the offseason, or maybe Kendall Briles, the TCU coach, and how it was personal. This actually was personal, I think, to Dion.
He had his mother deliver the speech to the team beforehand, and yes, it was personal.
So it was
going
to get nasty. And I remember, and obviously there was a bunch of stuff that happened in that game. There was a lot of penalties. Obviously, the hit on Travis Hunter that was late. I remember texting a couple of my buddies from Big Noon and be like, this is going to have a bench clearing brawl. You could just kind of feel it. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it didn't get to that point.
Right.
But the emotions were swirling so bad. Part of this is what we love about college football and football in general. And I think that, there was elements of where it felt a little like a big hockey game kind of thing, where it was like Avalanche Red Wings kind of thing. And it's like, okay, I know this is a rivalry, but there was so much hype around the game and that day. And then it's like festering from our shows end at noon Eastern, 10 o'clock local. And then there's like basically almost 12 hours later they're playing.
Yes.
So just that whole emotional swing, it's just like then the TV rating of the game comes in. It's almost 10 million viewers. And 10 million viewers for like a Pac-12 after dark game when it doesn't even involve two Pac-12 schools. It's insane.
This is why I told you, and we've been having this conversation. It feels like it's a little bit of Groundhog Day, but it is the story of sports right now. It truly is 100%, even with the first 2 weeks in the NFL being underway, because it does mix so many pop culture aspects of the world together, along with professional and collegiate sports, and it's Dion. He's at the cross-section of it, that if this had happened 2 years ago, the Pac-12 might have been able to look at UCLA and USC in the eyes and say, we got this. And everyone would be falling. Television networks would be falling all over themselves to have the Pac-12 contract. For sure.
The tentacles of this are unreal to see. I mean, we talked about this the other day. I did a story on his business manager.
Yeah.
And it ran on The Athletic.
Yeah.
Today, it is the entire front page of the New York Times sports section. The entire front page is that. It's
Constance Schwartz Marie.
Yeah, and
she deserves it. It's Stray too. I mean, it's not just Dion for her.
No, it's not. But it's just like this shows you the scope and how hot Dion is. 60 Minutes does a piece on Dion.
Yeah.
They, coming off of the games, people cannot get enough of it. Now, college football fans, diehards, I think are like kind of over it, and I think a little to the same degree of like old Notre Dame and to somewhat maybe even 90s and 80s Miami, where I think people are tuning in hoping to see them lose because I think they're just, but I think there is a big portion of those fans, but they want to watch. They cannot not watch.
That's what Dion's been about since the late 80s. I've got Bruce Feldman here on the Rich Eisen Show, and you just said, some people might be tuning in to watch Colorado lose. This may be the week where it happens more than any of the last three. Travis Hunter is out for how long?
3 weeks, we're hearing, yeah.
Well, I mean, Warren Sapp came on the show yesterday talking about, by the way, that he would love to be part of Dion's staff in 2024, that there's an opportunity there that he's working hard to go and meet the requirements for and get ready for. Mentioned is a lacerated liver for Travis Hunter. And so that's serious. And, man, I would have loved to have seen him out there against Oregon. How do you think this matchup looks to you, Bruce?
I think this is the most talented team. Bo Nix is a much better quarterback than they've faced so far this year. Chandler Morris is good. Bo Nix is next level. This is a more physical offensive line. This is a much faster team than what TCU had, especially on defense. I mean, the point spread is similar to what it was at TCU, I think. And also now there's a lot of film on what CU does. Mm-hmm. I still think CU is going to score a bunch of points because Shedeur is that good of a quarterback. They are one positive. They won't have Travis Hunter. They will get Alton McCaskill, who is a big transfer running back. He was the rookie of the year in the AAC 2 years ago. He's coming off a knee injury. He's finally been cleared. Now, we don't know how much he's going to play, but that should help their offense, even if he can give them 15, 20 snaps. Mm-hmm. I suspect they will lose in a high-scoring game just because I don't see them, you wonder how long that their limited depth can hold up as we get further into the season. And this is like I said, this is a tough place to play. It is a much more talented team than they've faced so far. Nebraska did not have the firepower and the athletes that Oregon has. TCU had some of it, but not like this. And now my guess is, they will end up losing something like, a 45-31 kind of game. Mm-hmm. But I didn't think they were going to win at TCU, and they absolutely did that. But they had Travis Hunter for this, and they had Travis Hunter making plays on both sides of the ball. I think they will miss him even more on defense than they do on offense just because of how good Bo Nix is at extending plays.
And then, I mean, the rest of this is the first full weekend, I think, where there's big-time games all over the country, obviously. Let's hit Ohio State-Notre Dame. How do you see that one playing out? What's your preview of that one, Bruce Feldman?
Yeah, this is a heavyweight fight right now. Last year, first real game for Marcus Freeman, he coached the bowl game, but when he got in there, I thought, did a really good job keeping it close. And that was against C.J. Stroud in Ohio State. C.J. Stroud is obviously in the NFL now. Kyle McCord's had some good moments. There's still Marvin Harrison Jr., Sam Hartman is a huge upgrade from anything Notre Dame's had playing quarterback probably since Brady Quinn. And that's a long time ago. And so I think Notre Dame has a lot of speed. I think Notre Dame matches up pretty well. I feel like, you said it, this weekend, there's awesome matchups. This is the headliner because you have, two top 10 teams. It's in a storied atmosphere. I would not at all be surprised if Notre Dame knocked off Ohio State. The thing is, as you well know, the team that's been able to get them is Michigan, who has been really, really physical. Notre Dame has a good offensive line. I don't know if it's quite as good as what Michigan's had the last couple years. They run the ball well. Man, I can't wait to watch. I mean, my gut wants to pick Notre Dame in this game, but my head's telling me at some point the Ohio State receivers are just too good and they'll make big plays at the end of the game and they'll pull it out. But I can't wait to watch this game.
It's fascinating. Whatever you said over the last 2 minutes, it just turned into Charlie Brown's teacher. As soon as I heard you say the team that beats Ohio State is Michigan, and that Notre Dame might not have the same thing that Michigan has. As soon as you said that, everything else I just tuned out the rest of what you said.
Not my intent.
Jim Harbaugh comes back against Rutgers, 3-0 versus 3-0 right there. That's an interesting one. But what else is up there for you to hit here?
So let's get to the Clemson, which got smashed by Duke in the opener.
Yep.
But now they go to Florida State. Florida State looked really good. Same weekend against a talented LSU team, blew them off the field.
Yep.
Right. So were we wrong? Were there overreactions of week one? I don't think Clemson's going to win this game. What I'm wondering is, does Clemson stay competitive in this game?
That would be unbelievable. And the fact that you are saying that just speaks volumes of how things have changed there at Clemson so fast. I'm with you. I think Florida State is more talented. I mean, I think it's that simple. I mean, the quarterback's been around for 10 years, number one. Number two, the team dismantled LSU for a reason. I think they're much more talented than Clemson, don't you think? I mean, just
they are. And the area where the biggest upgrade for them is, and you do NFL, is there's a lot of old Clemson receivers in the NFL who've been really good in the NFL for a while. Mm-hmm. There aren't right now. They've missed on receivers, and Florida State, to their credit, their receivers, and we'll throw Jaheim Bell as a tight end in there, who came from South Carolina. Mm-hmm. But here's the difference between the two programs right now. Keon Coleman started his career at Michigan State. He's a Louisiana kid, super athletic, big receiver. Clemson doesn't have that. Johnny Wilson, 6'7", 240-pound guy who can really run and is a freaky athlete, tight end size, but receiver athleticism. Started out his career in the Pac-12, came to Florida State. Jaheim Bell started out his career in the SEC, and now he's there, and he's the very versatile tight end, and they do a lot of stuff with him. Clemson doesn't have that. Jordan Travis can throw to those guys. Those are matchup problems. I think those are the guys who blow the game open in the second half for Florida State. But I do want to see, is Clemson going to prove us wrong and sit there and show us that, hey, a lot of these guys who are well regarded coming out of high school, don't give up on Clemson. But I mean, I'm not going to say if Clemson gets blown out that Dabo's run there is like he's never going to see the playoff again.
Oh, sure.
But to me, we're going to find out a lot more about Clemson than we probably will about FSU.
So what's your concern level for Alabama right
now? Mine's none, because Nick Saban's won 6 national titles, right? So his legacy is square. But
I'm not talking about legacy. I'm literally talking about 2023. Your concern level for the Alabama Crimson Tide for this season is what?
Are they seriously a top 10 team? And they looked terrible last week against USF, right? So I think that was the opportunity where Nick Saban and his new OC Tommy Rees gave Tyler Buchner and said, look, you followed Tommy Rees here for a reason. We're going to give you a shot. It didn't go great. It didn't go good. And now what I am really curious about and intrigued is his old assistant, Lane Kiffin, whose team has played well early. He put something out there. Lane Kiffin told his own, Ole Miss beat writers, hey, the defensive coordinator is not the defensive coordinator. The secondary coach is now calling the defense. And for Lane Kiffin to put that out there to basically troll his old boss and create a big distraction for Nick Saban on game week to the point where he knows Nick Saban's going to get asked about it. And in Lane Kiffin fashion, he didn't not only bring it up, he then started retweeting people talking about it on Twitter as if, hey, by the way, did you guys see what I said? And so Nick Saban gets asked about it. Nick Saban said, no, Kevin Steele is star defensive coordinator. By the way, it was after one game of substance. It was the Texas game. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't just the defense that lost that game. The offense looked really bad too. So that, jousting between Lane Kiffin trolling his old boss. Now it's in Tuscaloosa. And I can only imagine what was going through Nick Saban's head when somebody told him, hey, Lane said Kevin's not the defensive coordinator that T-Rob's now running the defense.
You mean Nick's not on Reddit himself? He's not trolling the message boards pages?
No, I think he has better things to do with his time than to be on Twitter. But the fact that Lane said it, and also these staffs are really close. Nick Saban's old defense coordinator, Pete Golding, he is now the defense coordinator for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. There's a lot of connections within the staff. Yeah. Same agent. They're both represented by Jimmy Sexton. I'm sure there's a lot of gossip that gets back to Oxford, and I'm sure it gets back to Tuscaloosa. So that's the subplot in that game.
That's a good one. I like it.
But the fact that Lane retweets this stuff
means what? He thinks that Nick is
he wants to be a pain in the butt.
Yeah. I mean, it's game week.
Stirring it up.
Yeah, I just think he wants to be a pest.
Yeah.
And he wants to try to get under his skin and create distractions. Why else would you do that?
But what's a distraction for Nick's? That Nick's going to answer a question that he's going to be pissed about answering? I mean,
agitation.
Yeah.
But do you think it filters down to the X's and O's and the kids and whatever?
No, I don't think it does. I think it's to annoy my old boss. I don't know how else.
What else?
Because if you have some kind of intel that you want to use,
are
you really going to broadcast it?
But they also have a quarterback thing going on in Alabama.
Yeah, sure.
They do, but Milroe, I mean, that's separate. This is like to pile on top of it.
Jeez. Wow. Before I let you go, what else? What else are you looking forward to this weekend? I just feel like there's so many.
There's another good game in the Pac-12. UCLA goes to play Utah.
Yeah, there you go.
Utah's really good. It's two of the most physical teams in the conference. We'll find out more this week whether Cam Rising, who beat USC twice last year, he's coming off a knee injury that happened in the Rose Bowl. Is he going to be cleared and ready to go? Mm-hmm. He hasn't played yet. He will definitely help them if he can go. So many good games. There's like 7 really good games this week.
Well, I look forward to it. Enjoy Cincinnati.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate your time here. And it's so much fun. And again, Dion leading the way. I sensed, I didn't see 3-0. I'll be honest with you.
Who saw 3-0? He might have, but nobody else saw 3-0.
I think so. I mean, 3-0.
2-1 maybe?
2-1 maybe.
But just it is remarkable. I see it in what people who consume this program are interested in when we talk about it. It's Dion. It is truly him and everything going on with him and how he is comporting himself and how people still represent him or his intentions. It's wild, man. And I just love how he's playing into it. And I just love how smart his team is. His team looks smart, and they had, I don't think they expected, the brass knuckles treatment from their opponent last week, but maybe that just makes them stronger going into Oregon. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's going to be more doubters coming off this game. Maybe not than TCU because nobody knew what to expect.
Right.
But, like if they somehow get out of this game 4-0, because this is a way bigger test.
To have USC coming in?
Well, just because they have film on what, again, this is not to give TCU an excuse or whatever, but there was no film. You look at Kent State stuff, but you're matching up with different players.
Yeah.
You look at Jackson State stuff to see the personnel. This now that people have film on them.
Yes.
And they don't have Travis Hunter.
Tough assignment, to say the least. Bruce Feldman here on the Rich Eisen Show every single Wednesday from Fox Sports and The Athletic. Great to see you, sir.
Good seeing you.
Awesome. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.